Well, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra, the weekend after many have called what we saw as the great defeat to the Moroccans at AFCON 2025. And oh, what an evening. We came, we saw, and we were conquered, unfortunately. Or were we? And give me a second, let me take out my gum. My chewing gum before I go viral for being one of the first news presenters to actually have chewing gum in their mouths while they're doing the breakfast. Because it seems this little piece of rubber is capable of much more than we can imagine. I'll come back to that, but don't worry, nobody noticed. Let's talk about that match. 90 minutes of calculated skill, sweat, smelly jerseys, 30 minutes of extra time so tense that we actually let dinner burn, and all while wondering how such a tough match would end up in penalties. And when it came down to it, both teams exhausted, worn out like tissue paper. Well, it was a tight game. No collapse, no humiliation, just one of those nights where football refuses to choose kindly. And as the players walk off, a short clip begins to travel online. Samuel Chewing Gum Chukwueze walking toward the ball to take his ill-fated shot, and that was all we chose to see, or at least all we cared to want to see. Within minutes, timelines were alive. One post said it showed a lack of seriousness, another one said it explained everything. Someone slowed down the video for what I really don't know, and someone else added arrows. In fact, a former player hinted at attitude and discipline, and a sports page went the further mile and turned it into a poll, serious or unserious. And suddenly, chewing gum had context, it had meaning, it had weight. The fact is, what fascinated me was not the criticism, because I believe criticism is part of football, it's always part of the game. What fascinated me was the need Nigerians had to explain loss. Because for many of us, it was not enough to say Nigeria lost. We needed a reason that felt satisfying, a detail we could hold on to, a moment we could point at and say, ha, there, that's it. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Nigeria did not lose because of chewing gum. Come on. Nigeria didn't lose because of attitude. We didn't lose because we were not capable or good enough. It went down to penalties, for goodness sake. Nigeria lost because football demands balance. And sometimes that balance is cruel. In every match, someone must win and someone must lose. And we forget this too easily. I mean, we played well. We completed the game. We stayed in the game. We had a very solid unbeaten run heading into that stage. We took it to penalties. And penalties, well, they don't reward effort. Penalties reward fortune. And on that night, on body language, in one moment, just one moment out of a 120-minute story. Because it's easier to reduce loss than to accept its complexities. You see, football teaches a quiet lesson if you're willing to listen. You can do many things right, everything in fact, and you can still lose. Something to think about this morning, and don't worry, at least we've still got that third place match coming. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Appeal, and of course, every single weekend, I never do this alone. We've got Queen Celestine in here. Queen, you're welcome. Good morning to you. How was your weekend?
Mazino. It was beautiful. Thank you for the chewing gum. I feel like it's a reminder that sometimes when we go through stuff, we don't face reality. We don't come to terms with it. We just blame something.
Absolutely, and please don't tell anybody I stuck it there. I promise to take it out after the show.
You better.
In any case, how did you feel after the Eagles lost?
Well, for the first time.
After they lost that game.
For the very first time, I had to sit down by myself to watch this football, and I tell you, I was tired. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, it's over, let's go, it's draw like penalty. I'm like, no, I'm going to bed.
You obviously don't know how football works, but in any case, well, tell you what, I'm going to come over and we'll start the show in earnest. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, for the third time, welcome. This is Breakfast Extra.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Breakfast Extra. We've got a lot to unpack today. Now, in Edo Central, tensions are rising in Ekpoma, and the police are stepping up operations. And we'll look at what's happening on the ground, how the community is responding, and what it means for public trust and security. It's also Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and we'll honor the heroes who gave their lives, but we'll also ask the tough questions: are their families getting the support they deserve? And over in Rivers State, the impeachment drama heats up as Governor Fubara and his deputy face serious political challenges. What's really going on behind the power moves, and what does it mean for governance and the citizens, of course? And in the north, there's controversy brewing over the proposed release of convicted bandits. Can peace be restored without bending the rules of justice? And we'll dig into that. But not everything is heavy. Our Waka Waka World segment takes us to Igbo-Ora, the town famous for having the highest twin birth rates in the world. Culture, tradition, science, we've got it all. And finally, we'll turn our eyes to Uganda, where rising repression is casting a shadow over the upcoming elections. What does this mean for democracy, not just there, but across the region? Stick around. Our reports, expert insights, and voices from the ground make every story more than a headline. Today, every story is a conversation. But first, let's take a look at the dailies for this morning.
Absolutely. We're going to take a look at the dailies in just about a bit. I wanted to know what you thought about the 70 released repentant insurgents, or is it terrorists? So I don't know what you call them these days.
You really want my thoughts,
Yeah,
Mazina?
be honest. Hey, it's that kind of a show.
Well, I think first off, before you start talking about, repentant bandits, have we solved the insurgency issues? How many years have we had peace in the north? How many months? The people that have been kidnapped, have they been rescued? The ones that were rescued, what is the solution for, their mental health?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to release people in the system, let's start with the people that you put in the prisons. Remember the 12-year-old boy that was just taken to prison and he was there for 10 years? If not for a lawyer who saw him and asked, what are you doing here? He didn't even know why he was there. So all those little things are things we need to consider. So maybe if you're talking about repentant, bandits, let's go to the prisons and check people who have been, been serving their term for good behavior.
Or who might not even be there for a good reason.
Exactly.
Or bad reason.
So we can start from there.
So I understand what you're saying. Tell you what, we're going to do the dailies, but first let's take a short break. We'll come back with the dailies, let you know what's happening on the front pages. We'll be back.
Welcome back, and this is our first big report. Now, Ekpoma has become a test case for public order in Edo Central. What began as civil unrest has now drawn a heavier police presence, raising hard questions about security, accountability, and the thin line between restoring calm and deepening mistrust. The central issue remains this: can force alone fix a problem rooted in tension, fear, and unresolved grievances? This morning, we look beyond the headlines. Our correspondent was on ground, speaking with residents, security operatives, and local voices caught in the middle of the disorder. The aim is to understand what triggered the unrest and how authorities responded and what remains unsolved. Here now is our special report by Ameze Bazuaye.
It started quietly, whispered fears, unanswered questions, and families suddenly thrown into panic. In Ekpoma, residents say kidnapping stopped being distant news and became a daily reality. Residents, mostly youths, took to the streets, blocking major roads and demanding urgent government action to rescue their town from kidnappers. Authorities say the protest was hijacked. What began as a call for safety degenerated into vandalism, looting, and an attack on the palace of the Onoji of Ekpoma and other residents. Arrests followed swiftly.
At the afternoon, around 11, now so person shout come my house. They say they don't carry them for us inside house. So they say now police.
3 a.m. in the morning, they called me that some policemen came to their hostel and they entered their hostel, took them away.
The Edo State Commissioner of Police, Monday Agbonika, says security has now been reinforced across Edo Central with community policing activated and bushcombing operations intensified to flush out kidnappers hiding in surrounding forests.
We have come up with some major strategies, and one of which is the Community Safety Partnership. And the Community Safety Partnership entails that we get all the members, the major key stakeholders within the communities to work with law enforcement.
The state government also stepped in. Governor Monday Okpeolu swiftly took a trip to meet with the leadership of Ambrose Ali University, distancing students from the unrest and ordering the immediate release of any innocent students arrested. He warned that while peaceful protest is a right, criminality will not be tolerated under any guise.
Students that probably were arrested, we'll look into it, get them released to the Student Union president. That is a promise that I made to him, and I will do that as quickly as possible.
The chairman of Asan West local government echoed that position, urging residents to remain calm and cooperate with security agencies as efforts continue to restore order.
The current governor is a messiah because he has really done a lot. They have come to our rescue. You can see everywhere is peaceful. You see these people are sitting down because there is peace everywhere.
Residents say they are cautiously hopeful that the combined response from government and security agencies could mark a turning point, one that finally restores peace and safety to Ekpoma and the wider Edo Central district. In Edo, for News Central, I'm Meze Bahazwaye.
Now, to help us make sense of the political and also security implications, we're joined by Osaz Owingare, public affairs analyst, and Buji Ohemoy, senior advisor in media and publicity to the Edo State Governor, joining us to have this conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm going to start with Ms. Owingare. Ms. Owingare, thank you very much. I'm wondering, we've seen this matter go from one thing to the other. It kind of like segued its way into violence. So I'm wondering what the issue at this unrest in Ekpoma tells us about state capacity to actually manage civil disorder before it becomes violent.
Well, first, let me start by congratulating the new special advisor. I have also always advocated that government must be deliberate on the choice of appointments. I must congratulate you, Mr. Bugi. Having said that, it is important that we give background history of the events. On the 10th of January, the residents of Ekpoma in Edo Central local government, of course, the head of Edo local government of Edo State, took to the streets to protest what they describe as incessant kidnapping and heightened insecurity in the area. Protesters carried placards demanding government actions. What began as peaceful protests suddenly snowballed into a demonstration of some sort, if you like, riots. Government believed that this protest was hijacked by hoodlums. In some quarters, it is believed that these hoodlums were sponsored by opposition elements to disrupt, if you like, to discredit the government of Senator Monday Okpeolu. Right or wrong? Does the people have the right to protest? The answer is yes. Do they have the right? Are there insecurity in Edo State, particularly the Edo Central, where the government comes from? The answer is yes. Are government taking steps to check this insecurity? The answer is yes. Now, what are the issues? People who take to streets to protest must put all measures in place to ensure that their innocent and genuine protests and demands are not hijacked by unscrupulous elements.
Now, Mr. Osa,
as we have seen.
Mr. Osa, I want to thank you very much for giving us a background. You've actually done very well. Now that we have this picture, I'm wondering whether the government, the state government, especially since you said that they've put in so much effort, where they might have done better so that this issue doesn't become a violent one like we saw. Just as you said, people have the rights to protest. But what did the state do right or wrong that made it go from where it was into something that became a big violent event? How could they have forestalled this?
What happened in Edo State, of course, is what happened in Nigeria. Government hardly take its citizens seriously. The people didn't just come out. They have been crying for government interventions over time. And of course, they may have believed that government have not done enough. Government must take every cry of citizens very seriously. And I think Edo State government, in as much as I agree that they are doing enough or they are doing much to check what is happening there in Edo Central, in other parts of the state, they must take the genuine cry and yearnings very seriously.
All right, then.
They must take government very seriously and must check the issue of unemployment, which is why people take to crime, like you have seen in Ekboma. And government must also take seriously intelligent gathering, because if there were sufficient intelligent gathering in the case of Ekboma, I'm not sure that peaceful protest would have snowballed into what we now see as riots, to the extent that the palace of the Onoje was invaded and there were a lot of vandalization. So there must be sufficient intelligent gathering on the part of government and security agencies so that some issues are forestalled in the nearest.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Mwigari.
So thank you. For me, I would like to ask Boogie, I hope I got it correctly. As you are the essay on media and publicity in Edo State, my question now will be, what specific steps is Edo State government taking? We see that, of course, this unrest is coming from, the citizens saying they're tired of the kidnapping and the bad situations happening in Edo State. I'm sure it happens all around, in Nigeria. But what is the government doing to reduce this? And of course, you've heard what Osa is saying. What do you have to say to that?
Thank you very much. My brother has already laid the foundation for the conversation, and I'm happy he gave credit to the efforts of the state governor, Senator Monday Okweolu, in addressing security issues. Now, security is an evolving phenomenon. You don't solve security totally, because as you put in efforts to solve security problems, people who are deviant in society, you will always have crime in societies, even in the most developed environment. I mean, if you didn't have crime, countries will need to have police forces and other security apparatus. So you must keep evolving. The governor has invested so much in security in the last 1 year that he's been in office, and several security challenges have been addressed. If you had Googled Edo State about a year ago, or Edo State security, one major recurring factor you are going to keep hearing is cultism. It was so bad in Edo State that, we were counting loss of young lives in hundreds. This last December was the first time in several years that we had peaceful celebrations, and we weren't counting scores in quotes. Counting scores is the term that is used to describe how many people have died on each cult site. Governor Okweolu, through his proactive measures and investments in security, has totally eradicated cultism. When you look at urban crime, armed robbery and all of that, that has almost basically been dealt with too in major parts of Edo State. It's important to stress that this particular situation we're talking about is centralized in a small part of the whole state. So Edo State is safe. We just had this particular challenge in this area. In the last administration or in years past, we saw situations where armed robbers operated in the same Edo Central. In broad daylight, about 6 banks were robbed, several people were killed, and they escaped without being caught. The party chairman of the opposition party in Edo State some years back was kidnapped in Benin City just in front of his house. But we don't have those kind of things happening again. So the governor has done so much in creating a peaceful environment. The challenges we see in Edo Central as the result of the general national problem of forest banditry that many states are encountering. And the fact that it came to Edo Central is also a slight reflection of the efforts of the governor. If we remember, these things initially were really rampant around the Etsako West area that border Okene, Lokoja, and Kogi states. That place was really a strong touch point. And we also used to have them in Etsako East, around Guinea. That's where some time back, some Catholic priests were abducted. But because of the pressure in those areas, what seems to have happened is that they probably have moved through the bushes towards Etsako Central. And the governor, being a very proactive person, had set into motion strategies and plans to deal with it effectively. Security issues are not things you really discuss so publicly. So I'm saying that to say, while people thought things were going on unabated, the governor was working on strong strategies that were largely driven by high-tech, technological surveillance, intelligence. Because I mean, dealing with these people is simple. Locate where they are, go in there, build capacity to go in there and flush them out. And the governor was doing a lot in that. Unfortunately, what happened is that they happened. But from the intelligence reports,
Boogie, so tell you what, we're going to take a very short break, but when we come back, I want to ask you a question about policing. And not just policing, but the trust that people have in policing in Edo State, because there seems to be some sort of narrative that we have to bring out. Maybe that might have resulted in what happened during the riots. But let's go on that short break now, and I'll be back with that question for you. Thank you. You're welcome back. It's still Breakfast Extra here on News Central, and we have been talking about instances from Ekpoma in Edo State that, well, resulted in riots. We have with us Buji Ohoimoy, and of course, we also have Mr. Osa Nwigari joining us to have this conversation. Boogie, before we went on break, I said I had a question for you on police. Now, you stated, in fact, you said so many things. You talk about the geography of Edo State and how it is implicated in the banditry issues that we see from Okene and, other states. You also talked about the efforts of the state government. And what they use, the apparatus they use is police. But I'm wondering what the relationship is between the people and the police. Because when you talk about policing in Edo State especially, people are scared of the police as much as they're scared of bandits or anything that is violent. So I'm wondering exactly how that balance can be met. What is the state government doing to balance deterrence with dialogue in the situations that we have just seen?
Firstly, it's not just the police that the governor has leveraged on to manage security in Edo State. In fact, most of the governor's actions have been more of community and locally driven. In the last administration, we had the Edo State Security Network that along the line became corrupted and couldn't serve the security needs of the state effectively anymore. All of that corruption culminated in the killing of the governor's police aide, and the IG had to prescribe them. When the governor came in, understanding the importance of community policing, the security outfit was, rejigged with proper training, with better equipping in handling weapons. I mean, among several others, they were trained by the army and by the police. And this time, recruitment into the security service was largely community-driven. Every member of the Edo State Security Corps, as it's called presently, has, guarantee and validation from community leaders. I mean, these are people taken from the communities who have been vetted, who have been, validated. So that's a major community measures that the governor has adopted.
Okay, then.
Empower the local security, that's the vigilantes, the hunters, and all of that. So for the police, when you say the people are scared of the police, I don't think that's true. We have a very proactive commissioner of police who's very hands-on, who's always on site, I just think the relationship, can get better, but it's not, the people are not scared of the police. The governor has empowered the police with a lot of logistics, financial support, and we've been seeing the results. And the Okpoma issue should not be used as a yardstick to judge police efforts and the governor's collaboration with security.
Right. So also real quick, I know, we're running out of time on this conversation. Boogie has mentioned, the hard work the government is doing, to curb insecurity and, courtism and all that. You also said that the government is doing a good job. But now if the government is doing a good job and then you have the youths out there protesting, are you going to say this is more of a communication issue and transparency issue in Edo State? Osa?
Okay. First, I live in Edo State. I was born and raised there. And I must admit at this time that since I became a youth, we have never had a Christmas this peaceful in recent time in Edo State. And of course, we must give the credit to Mr. Governor, who has put all measures in place, both moral and legal framework, to see that security challenges is dealt with decisively in Edo State. And he has done that by empowering the House of Assembly to pass relevant laws. He has also done that by equipping the security agencies with relevant equipment, and gadgets to check insecurity in Edo State. And that we must commend Mr. Governor for. But beyond all that, the governor has to do more. Our government has to do more. If you are removing people from crime, if you are taking steps to check people from committing crime, what plans do you have to engage these young people who have taken to crime?
Right.
Who are or those who are intending to take to crime.
Right.
Government must, empower these young people to channel their energy towards adventures that are meaningful to themselves, and of course to the society.
Okay.
And government must also arrest or manage the relationship between young people and the police and other security agencies in Edo State. Because what we have seen over time is incessant harassment of security. The police harass young people, incessantly. Government takes steps to see that these things are checked,
right,
so that people can live freely, and work freely in the states. But in spite of all this, we make government, and also, like I said earlier when I started this conversation, I am congratulating the new special advisor, who at this time must be deliberate in sending the messages of what government is doing to see that it reaches the grassroots. Because what we have seen since Obama government began is that government is working and people are not aware of what the government is doing. So I'm the government for this step by putting square peg in square hole to see that proper information get to the grassroots as to what government is doing about security, and steps is taken to see that people live freely and safe in our communities.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us, of course, and giving us an insight of what's happening in Edo State. And of course, we're hoping that, the work of the government will show forth and, they will curb this insecurity and, the whole...
Well, the instances that we are seeing in Edo State.
But thank you,
very
gentlemen.
much, Osa Owigari, and of course, Boogie Ohei Moy. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
And welcome back. This is, of course, Breakfast Extra. Now, Armed Forces Remembrance Day is meant to be a moment of honor and reflection. Across Nigeria, wreaths are laid and speeches are made in memory of men and women who paid the ultimate price defending the country. In some states, the state governments reaffirmed that the sacrifices of fallen heroes will never be forgotten. But beyond the ceremonies lies a quieter reality. Many families of fallen service members continue to struggle with welfare gaps, delayed benefits, and limited long-term support. As insecurity persists, the cost of service keeps rising, and the question grows louder. How well does Nigeria care for those left behind? Let's take a look at a special package put together by News Central correspondent Victor Mbadike.
From the nation's capital Abuja to Lagos, Jos, Rivers, and several other parts of the country, the rituals were strikingly similar. Gun salutes fired, wreaths laid, flags lowered. Each ceremony paid tribute to officers and men who paid the ultimate price for Nigeria.
The nation is behind them, and that we are praying for them, and that we will do everything that it takes to always support them.
Excellency has graciously approved the sum of 50 million naira for the 2026 Legion Emblem Week appeal, and also we reiterate our commitment to stand with the fallen heroes' family at all times.
They asked only for a country worth protecting. Their blood watered the soil of our nation, and their sacrifice remains the foundation upon which our peace is built.
We remember them, we pray for them, those who have departed, those who are serving, who sacrificed their discomfort for our own, so that we chart a new course for our country.
Yet, from state to state, families of the fallen say the message is the same. Annual remembrance alone does not ease their hardships. Despite raising this alarm for years, they say nothing has changed.
They keep doling out money when they're launching the emblems in millions, and it doesn't get to the desired people. That's the fallen heroes, their families. It ends up in the hands of the high and mighty. I don't want to start quoting people, but it doesn't get to us. I can assure you, for the past how many years, not even 5 naira has gotten to the widow. From the money each time you guys come to the Unity Hall, you hear millions. Quote me, Mrs. Sarah Mwabweze, 5 naira does not get to the widows.
If government will help me, they should help us, so that they need to help widows, so that we'll be able to take care of our children. If not, the life is very difficult for the widows, especially the widows that die in active service.
I am crying, and I will keep crying. My husband died 10 years ago. Up till today, our group life insurance, which is entitled of, have not been paid. Tell Nigerian government to pay our husband entitlement. We don't know who to cry to except God.
If I tell you the way I come out today, I managed to get my transport down here. I just begged Nigerian Navy to pay his entitlement. Up to now, they've not paid my husband life insurance. Up to now, 7 good, going to 8 years, 2017 days, they've not paid me. I've been begging. I'm suffering.
However, conflict advisor Julius Gaya says the issue points to a wider system failure, where accessing entitlements linked to deceased spouses becomes a major challenge.
If you've gone around some pension fund administrators, you find long queues, elderly people waiting, either submitting a new document or being requested to bring a new document after coming the previous week, and constant updates, and then even unspecified period when they file for their benefits, either for the ones of their principals who have passed on, or gratuity, as it were, and the likes. You find that some discrepancies also in documentation can create problems. Regarding the call to the president and the service chiefs to release the funds, I believe the funds are already there.
A visit to a retired military officer tells a familiar story. Despite decades of service, he says he expected better welfare support from the government.
Government should please to take care of veterans. Let them have their hospital for them. If possibly, veteran supermarket, they can do that one. It's all over in the whole country. Veteran supermarket, you go there, you buy whatever you are buying at a cheaper rate because they know the amount they are paying you. You go to the hospital, they treat you as a veteran because that's a hospital veteran. Veteran has car park in US. They have car park in London. All these areas they have. Veteran is #1 citizen in any country. So they should take proper care. Because if they are taking proper care, the younger ones will have interest to come.
As we look forward ahead, we will remain committed to building an army that is combat ready, ethically grounded, and resilient. The Nigerian army remains a force of good and has always remained a force of good that honors our past by succeeding in our present.
Despite nationwide ceremonies, support remains limited to handouts. with no clear policies in place. In Lagos for News Central, Victor Mbadike.
And here inside the studio, we are joined by Israel Ifirubo, News Central correspondent, who has been following the stories closely alongside families of fallen heroes and those who are living in the realities of this day. Israel, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm wondering now, you've been following the stories, you've been following the individual stories and also everything that the government has said, especially on Armed Force Remembrance Day. And I'm wondering how consistent the government promises are with the lived realities and experiences of these veterans who are yet alive as we celebrate Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
Well, thank you so much, Zeno. Yes, indeed, it's been like a ritual over the years, and this keep recurring. It happens every single year, and I can boldly say that the only good thing that has come out over the years is the fact that the government of Nigeria has not forgotten to set aside January 15th as a day to remember our fallen heroes. But it goes beyond that, not just remembering, but we're glad they haven't forgotten that date to celebrate them. But beyond that, how have they put in place policies and documents to ensure that these people who gave a large chunk of their lives, their youthful years, the energy, the strength, the intellect, the intelligence, every single thing, for more than 35 years, and to put Nigeria together. What exactly have we done to make sure these people, when they look back, they say, yes, I set my country and I did it so well. So we haven't seen any meaningful change, any meaningful impact in the lives of these people who lay down their lives. The stories are all the same across the country, and that's the sad part. We haven't been able to track key specifics of things that various governments, not even the federal now, even at state level, have done to ensure that these people, they get what they truly deserve. I mean, look at that report that you just saw. The widows are crying, and the message is the same across Nigeria,
So, I'm wondering on Armed Force Celebration and Remembrance Day, we saw Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu there, and we're wondering whether there was any thought given to the travails of these veterans. Did they speak at all to what they're going through? Did they talk about maybe reforms that they would have to help these individuals?
Indeed, well, it's really not a case of where you can really hold on to something that has been said. These are promises that have been said over the years, but nothing has just been done. Okay, so in Ondo State, for instance, now, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has gone ahead now to put aside 50 million naira interest-free loan, for widows and relatives of fallen heroes. But is that enough, to help these people? Yes, it is something, but how long-lasting can that kind of interest-free loan of about 200,000 naira go to support a family who has lost, lost the breadwinner, someone who was a pillar of support for all of them. For some of these widows, this life support has been gone for many years now, and they have to live with that reality every single time. Yes, the government will tell you that they are doing XYZ for these people, but in the reality, nothing has been done. A woman there in that report was saying that not even a kobo, has come to them. When you come to speak with them, to speak with the government, there are monies being allocated for these people for plans to ensure that they live a better life, but nothing gets to them.
Well, Ife, thank you very much. If there's a reason why we had you in the other studio, because we have a full studio here. We're being joined by three gentlemen, one off of Zoom. Let me introduce them. We have with us Master Warrant Officer Ekanem George, retired Air Force official. And of course, we also have Master Warrant Officer Emiabata Musibao, who we saw in that report, also of retired Air Force officer. And joining us from Jos in Nigeria, Musa Salihu, Deputy Co-Commander, Nigeria Legion. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much. From now, it will be broadcast standards aside, it will be Pa George and Pa Musibao and Pa Salihu, who we have online. Let's go on a quick break, and then we'll try and sort this technical issue out so we can get everything that the gentlemen are speaking.
Welcome back, and we're still on the conversation of, remembrance for armed forces. And we have Pa Musibao, Pa George, and Pa Salihu on Zoom with us this morning. And before we went on the break, I was asking Pa Musibao how it was, serving Nigeria for 35 years and what went wrong. Good morning, sir.
Before a person can be called veteran, he must have served in the military for a number of years. And after retiring, then you can now become a veteran. Unlike me, I served government for good 35 years and 6 months. Up till now, government is still owing me some money, which tomorrow they will pay, next tomorrow they will pay. Nothing comes out. But we are thanking God we are alive. Struggle continue. That is just like that.
So before I move on ahead to Pa George, you served 35 years and 6 months. What year did you retire?
I retired 2005.
2005?
Yes, December 15.
Right.
That was when I retired, more than 10 years ago.
And you're still being owed?
I'm still being owed. They still owe some money. They've not paid. Not even to me alone, most of everybody.
Right.
So, Pa George, I'm wondering, when the Armed Force Celebration and Remembrance Day comes every single year, I'm wondering what goes through your mind as you see the elaborate preparations that the government puts for this remembrance, as against what really happens in your lives when you have to consider everything that is being owed you for years of service.
Thank you very much for this great opportunity. And in fact, I'm not regretting serving the military in my country. But unfortunately, what you did not even expect is what you are seeing. Despite the hardship, despite the tedious training that you are going on, and at the end of the day, you don't have a tangible thing to go home with. Even when you retired, government is still promising and fail, keeping you in suspense, making life difficult, which is not so easy for a retiree to move along with life. When you retire, definitely they've drained much part of you, 90%, and by right, you're supposed to go home and relax. But you still go home and start looking forward to gather to fend your life, to living, to keep your family moving. So as I was saying, there's no regret whatsoever. Life continues. Where there's life, there's hope. We continue working. We are only retired, but we are not tired.
Right.
So we cannot.
I love that. And of course, we have our veteran, Musa Salihu, joining us live on Zoom. Good morning, sir. So please, can you just tell us your experience, 35 years serving Nigeria. What are the challenges that you are facing?
I am BCC Musa Salihu.
Yes.
Plateau State Command. After my retirement, I decided to still, contribute to the Nigeria by joining the Corps of Auctioneer. The government promised that it is a work to help the heroes that falls down, to help their children for work. But unfortunately, they established this cause without taking care of them. Our children are being recruited, but the government did not take care of them. All what we are doing, we have to create a bit that they used to go and perform duty and get some allowance. Because the children, they cannot go to the school. The mothers have nothing to take care of their children. So that is where they are managing up. Like me, now, I served 35 years. At the same time, disengagement from the job. That is July 9, 2001. Up till now, we have not been paying some of our allowances. Government continued promises of paying us, but until we went to peaceful protest before they continue, giving us some of the part of the money. The government is trying quite all right, but those surrounding the government are the one punishing the veteran. According to my colleague here now, he said you cannot be a veteran until you serve some certain years and you are retired before you can be a veteran, which is true. But we do celebrate for the fallen heroes. The last ones need to be taken care of, which we are struggling for always. Actually, we are not regretting of being a soldier, but we are supposed to be taken care of after disengagement. So I'm pleading to the government. Some of our allowances that they are supposed to pay us in bulk, they continue serving it, paying it quarterly. Instead of paying in bulk, so that the veterans can use it for a good motion, but they slide it down. Sometimes some of us myself, they pass away without receiving that money. And the government continue promising us that they are not owing us. They have approved amount that are supposed to pay us up. But still yet, we are not getting it. So I'm pleading to the government to make sure to help us. Some of us now cannot do any job again, according to my colleagues here. You cannot leave a guard post and come to another guard post. Our age is not supposed to be like that. And our children that they are doing this corps of commissioners. In fact, I'm begging government to consider this very corps of commissioners to approve them to be a working area.
Okay, Pastor Alihu. Pastor Alihu, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let me come back to the studio here. Pa George, I wanted you to bring us into your world. We keep hearing about these promises from the government. Exactly what were these promises? After 35 years of service, what does the government owe you? Before we go into talking about how they haven't paid those rewards, what exactly is owed a veteran upon retirement?
What is owing us is like this disabandonment fund allowances that are supposed to be given.
These allowances are monthly or yearly, or how are they disbursed?
The man have said, salary have said quarterly. They disburse it quarterly, which is not very good to us. The money is supposed to be paid once and for all, so that you can make use of it. When you start splitting it, you end up not. Some people have passed on, just as what you have said, and without getting the money.
Now, this is quarterly across how many years? Is it supposed to be quarterly for life, or quarterly until when? And how much exactly are we talking about, if you don't mind?
The figure is disclosed anyway. We cannot just disclose that, because we don't want to dabble into the government. Well, actually it's supposed to be once yearly. But we don't know the protocol or what they have in mind for us.
What you would rather is that it is once yearly, but at the moment it's supposed to be quarterly, and that is still not being met.
Yes, exactly.
That's very, very sad. Pablo, how has the government failed, apart from these amounts that are not being paid? Are there any other details that they failed at that you would like to bring to light?
Good. Say, as a soldier, retired soldier, you need to be taken care of. The salary given to or paying to them, they are paying them like a laborer. That you cannot use it for anything. With this hardship, if you are buying a bag of rice, just end up the money there. You can't buy any other foodstuff again. You have children, even though if you have grown-up ones, you have the small ones with you. they are going to feed them. You sick, you are going to use money to buy drugs. Go to medical center. You cannot get the type of drugs you want there. They will give you prescription, go outside, go and buy it. When you use your money to buy those drugs, nothing remains for you to complete the end of the month. Then that money is not refunding back to you. It is good for them to create or institute veteran hospital.
Doesn't that exist?
Yes?
I thought that exists already, a veteran hospital, veteran health.
No. There is no veteran hospital. They should create that avenue for veterans alone, widow and veterans. They should be going there. In other foreign countries, you see veterans hospital, veteran supermarket, even aircraft debate were given to veterans.
Right.
They have car parks. If you park your vehicle there, if you are not a veteran, they will come and ask you to remove it. Because all those things are meant to be implemented here.
Right.
But they sidetracked it because of their selfishness.
Musiba, so we noticed that both of you walked in here with a walking stick. And, you know, having lived and used your youth for 35 years in Nigeria can be challenging. Even us that we've not used 35 years, some days your knees are like,
my knee is
oh
aching me
God.
now.
So there are a lot of health challenges.
Yes.
And has the government said anything? Of course, we've seen, you know, the protest of, you know, even paying pensions. And this is very personal to me because my dad is retired. You know, he retired 2010. And he still says the same thing.
The Air Force or police?
Police. So he still says the same thing. And I know that sometimes for the police, they move them to mobile police, then army, and then you go here, and then you do peacekeeping. There's a lot of moving. For me, it affected, you know, the children. I went to 5 secondary schools because I had to move every time my father was moving. So how is your family coping with all of this, and how are you coping with your health? And what is the government saying? They keep promising and keep promising. Yes. What is the new promise now that we've celebrated another year of armed forces?
The same promise will continue. They will still promise us, but nothing will happen. When I was in the service, quite well, I enjoyed my working in the military. Because after the crisis, everything, I was posted to headquarters, where I work for some years before I was posted to another headquarters in Ikeja. So all my posting read Lagos and headquarters. My family remains where they are. So they were not moving here and there. So those are the only thing I can say I enjoyed in the military work. That I was not, you know, being pushed or pushed here and there, because I work in a sensitive office.
Right.
So that's why I remain until I retire.
Let's come now to Pa Musa Salihu in Plateau State. I'm going to ask my question after the break. Let's go on a short break, but before we go, let me tell you what I'll be asking about. It's going to be about, well, those who have gone, who have passed. What fate lies for their family with whatever promises the government has given to them or their family? How is it achieved? What do they have to do to be able to retrieve these promises? Do stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Hey, welcome back. Now, it's a very tense conversation. It's a conversation we didn't think would get this emotional, but apparently inside the studio it is getting emotional. We have three gentlemen here, Pa Musibao, Pa George, and of course on Zoom we have Pa Salihu joining us all the way from Jos as we discuss World, or rather Remembrance, yes, celebration and remembrance for armed force. The Armed Forces of Nigeria, every single year in January is celebrated. There's so much put into it. However, there's so much neglect that's given to the people who have served 35 years and over in the Nigerian Armed Forces, and what's left of them to suffer is what we're discussing today. Now, Mr. Musa Salihu is joining us from Plateau State, and I'm coming to you with the question that I asked from before. Now, there are those who have passed, sir, and I'm wondering what their families have to go through. In that special report, we saw widows crying and telling how they have been paid nothing since after 10 years, 9 years, 8 years. If you could explain to us exactly what these individuals have to go through to retrieve whatever promises they've been promised to their late spouses or fathers, and how real it is that they do get these monies. Pasalihu.
Very painful subject. The widows are suffering too much because even we that we are alive, before we get our benefit, the way we suffer, in fact, only God help us that we can get gratuity. Most of the widows, since their husbands are not alive, they get it very difficult to get the gratuity. Some of them, they use their children for the next of kin. They continue traveling from all over the nation to the headquarters. But except you have somebody that can help you before they get their entitlement. That is why this Corps of Auctioneer was created to, create job for the children of the fallen heroes. But unfortunately, the Corps of Auctioneer was not, approved, even now as I'm talking, by the government. And what we do, we decided to use it as guard posts for the children, so that some of the organizations, they will be guarding there and have their daily bread. That is what some of them are using to feed their mother and going to school. Like me now, as my colleague said, moving about with a family. Like me, I left my family in just here for 13 years when I was an instructor in Nigerian Defense Academy. I spent 13 years there before my retirement. And because if I'm to be moving them up and down, my children will not have better school to attend. So I left them in Jos. After I disengaged from the service, then I joined them back in Jos. So that is why we are pleading to government, this Corps of Auctioneer, they should make it. That is, it's not even only the fallen heroes children. They make it nationwide to employ others so that it can be a job instead of jobless people that are having many criminals in the country.
All right.
If this Corps of Auctioneer can be approved, I think it will help the government in a long way.
All right,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Alihu. Of course, I have to say thank you to all the gentlemen who have joined us here today. A little confession, we actually had to go on a break because Queen had to have a moment. And I just wanted to say to you as well, because from everything that the gentleman has spoken, I'm beginning to see how it impacts the children of veterans as well. It never occurred to me how much of an impact that could be until now.
Yeah.
But,
so having been a child of, someone who's given their life to Nigeria, having to experience them go through war, go through armed robbery operations, and them coming back safe, it's so unfair, to see them go through all this and all.
I'm sorry. I'll give you a moment.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, thank you very much, Pa Judge. Thank you very much, Pa Musibao. Thank you very much, Pa Salihu, for joining us all the way from Jos. Well, to our guests, do stay tuned. We've got more conversation here inside of Breakfast Extra. We'll be right back. Morning and welcome again. It's time for the dailies. We had to push that now because we have a very interesting note. We were going to have a conversation on Rivers politics, the tension inside of the Fubara impeachment proceeding instance. And we wanted to take a critical look at this. In fact, we have our guests all lined up already. But first, we noted that there was a very interesting trend in the dailies this morning, and we have to bring the dailies just before. In fact, I'm being told that our guests are here already, but one thing that we did note was a string throughout every single daily about the Rivers State instance. You see, Rivers State is once again at the center of a political storm. The State House of Assembly has moved impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, transferring the process to the Chief Judge Almost simultaneously, 4 lawmakers who had defected earlier made a dramatic return reversing course. Now, this is not just the legal process, it's a power struggle with implications for governance, party control, and also democratic stability in Rivers State. The speed, the reversals, the alignments, they raise questions about due process and political pressure. So, joining us now is Hilda Dokubo, Chairman of the Labour Party in Rivers State. Thank you very much for joining us, Hilda. It's good to see you here. Good to have you on the show here this morning.
Good morning.
Grand. Hilda, I wanted to talk about constitutional process versus political warfare here. We see a situation where there are reversals, there are talks of impeachments, but how constitutional are these processes? When we take a look at Section 188 of the Nigerian Constitution, one has to wonder whether the impeachment process being put forward by the House has followed the rules or even the requirements. What's your take, please?
You see, I have a problem having a conversation on this particular House of Assembly people. And that's because for me, no matter what they say or do, they're not members of that House of Assembly anymore. They already left that House of Assembly. So if the Supreme Court, without having the case before them, had ruled, that already in itself is destroying the Constitution. So there's no way these people, we're still in court, we're in appeal, and we're going to go through the whole 9 miles, all the way to Supreme Court, even if it's on the last day of them being there pretentiously, we will still get the Supreme Court to correct the anomaly. That's what I know. So these people are not constitutional and therefore cannot even do anything constitutional. So they think we're in some banana republic where you can just sleep, wake up, and then just listen to their excuse. It makes no sense, right? Absolutely, that the assembly was not considered, the interest of the assembly. We would like to know what this interest is, right? Because they really do not have any reason this time around. Just like they didn't also have reason the first and the second time. They just threw us into that quagmire of 6 months of nothingness in Rivers State. So it's not constitutional. They are not constitutional. The whole rubbish is a hoax.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if these processes, impeachment specifically, becomes a weapon, what lies for any other state governor when impeachment processes are weaponized like this? Are we taking apart democracy? What are the implications on democracy itself, even if Rivers State stands as just one instance? But we know that this affects, and this thread runs through the entire process of politics in Nigeria. What regard for democracy at the end of the day?
You see, this particular administration has oftentimes done things that are not constitutional, and some of us have continued to question the constitutionality of what is happening, and if we have already thrown away the 1999 Constitution as amended, if we have, then we must make it clear to the people, because the people in offices just keeps breaking the rules, and so we don't know what constitution they're operating on. But let's even look at the weaponization of it. If this is allowed to happen in Rivers State, then the other governors should be ready. Because it means that once your House of Assembly members think that they haven't been considered, which I find very insulting anyways, they haven't been considered in anything, like they are more Nigerian than the other citizens of the state, or like what? They haven't been considered, then they can impeach anybody. I think it's an abuse on our democracy. It's an abuse on us as a people, especially of Rivers people. We have had 3 governors before now, and we didn't have all this dramatic. So all these things coming up from everywhere just because of one man just does not make sense. All of it does not make sense, no matter how you choose to look at it. And the fact that people think that, oh, this is politics. This man is strong, that man is weak, and all of that makes a mess. It just even says how ill-informed, most of us already are. Because if you're taking sides with the oppressor, then something is wrong with your mental state. So, you know, for me, I think that every governor should watch out, and they should ensure that this does not happen.
Hilda, let's talk about loyalties. 4 governors, or rather 4 lawmakers, made a U-turn. Initially, they proposed that there be dialogue between the governor and the House. Eventually, well, the time elapsed. The governor did not really respond, nor did his deputy. And then they made that U-turn and said, fine, okay, let's go with impeachment. I'm wondering what the implications are here. But most specifically, what's the efforts or non-efforts of the governor to actually engage in dialogue portends for the situation?
Okay, so let me tell you as a writer.
Okay.
Because every time I comment on politics, somebody would say, go back to Nollywood, Joe. Politics is not Nollywood. So let me leverage on my Nollywood skills. You see, if you're a good storyteller, you know when a script is weak, when the writer of the script is not part of the production, and the writer is standing outside, not working with the director, but from time to time will throw in a line, create a confusion, and make it look like the director has no idea what they're doing on set, and all of that's exactly what is happening. It is the same script, the same ugly, disorganized, very melodramatic script and dialogues, except that every 4 years we get to see new actors playing out roles, right? So for me, what's going on here is whether the 4 of them said, oh, we're out, we're in, it's the same script. You know, it's a script trying to create complications, and then the writer gets confused about the complications that they have thrown in. Then they drop a Deus Ex Machina and say, okay, let some spirit drop from above that has made them change their minds, blah, blah, blah. There is nothing happening. It is the same people. It is the same process. It is the same script. It is the same actors. It's just trying to create diversions that don't exist, and they know it does not exist. So they're just playing with themselves in their House of Assembly. That's what they're doing.
So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying in the case of these House members, these lawmakers. But what about the governor or the deputy and their refusal to engage in dialogue? If this is a Nollywood script, that might sort everything out now, won't it? But they've refused to dialogue. The state is in turmoil. So it's a question to ask these two as well, don't you think?
Okay, so let's move this script forward, right?
Yes.
If you and I had a meeting and there was an agreement of what should happen, because they've been shouting agreement is agreement, you, and we said, okay, bring out your agreement in public. Then we saw Minister Nyesom Wike say, who reached what agreement? Who said one term? Who said impeachment? They're there, you're a news person, so you have all of that. So there must be some kind of agreement, because they didn't just have a conversation with the president, they reached certain agreements. So for me is, if the agreement was for you people to go and talk, have you talked? Are you expecting, even where you are in your office, if you do something or you don't even do something, but the boss in the office is not exactly pleased with what's going on, you go. You don't wait. If you invite him and he's not coming, you go. Have they gone? You can't keep begging people to come. Have they even talked to us, Rivers people, who they walked out on without telling us why they're walking out? Have they talked to us? They haven't. So for me, really, I don't know what the governor and the deputy are working on, but I think that they, you know, after what has happened first, second, it becomes too many once. You know, once too many. The same thing too many. You can't keep asking people to, you can't keep trying to reach people. Then they evade the whole meeting, then turn around, come to public space and say nothing is happening. It just doesn't make any sense. Because we were here when the governor said, oh, he wants to come and present. A few days after, these people said they were going on leave. Is he going to chase them to where they were going to their leaves for. No. So every time the governor has made an effort to see them, to meet with them, they have introduced a new movement. If they're going for this recession, that store, this trip, what is a man supposed to do? Pursuing them around like a mother pursuing her children, and saying, don't touch, don't touch. Is that what he's supposed to be doing?
Hilda, Hilda, while we're talking about these agreements, or an agreement that was reached when the federal government stepped in informally, do you think that part of that agreement was a defection by the governor? And how does that play now with the defection in place and we're still having squabbles between him and the House? And you also brought in the Wike factor. By the way, that impression of Wike was 8 out of 10. Thank you very much. But how does that play in Wike, the federal government's intrusion, or is it healthy intervention? So what are we looking at here with all these different dynamics? Do you think that the federal government, the presidency should step in again? And would that be healthy or intrusive?
I don't think that the president should step in again. He stepped in once. Once he stepped in, it was more like using a sledgehammer to kill a butterfly. Then he stepped in, which we don't know what it is. They had another meeting, this time informal, and everybody came back and smiled. I tell you the truth, I was happy, but I had my suspicion. I was more like, oh, thank God, finally we can have good governance, right? And I just felt like all the attempts, there was a town hall with News Central, you remember?
Yes.
In Port Harcourt. Felt like all of this, if you put them together, it has worked, and that's why we have peace now. So I was particularly very happy that the governor could move around and say, oh, here's my brother, and all of that, right? And they were seen at events, and I thought everybody would step down. But this one propping up now, I don't think the president should meddle in it. He should just leave them alone. And I also do not think that defecting to another party was part of the agreement. I think it's a case of the governor looking at where he is and all the antagonism that he was facing. Nobody was there for him, you know, to protect him from the bullying and everything that was going on. I think that all he did was try and see if he would find a place where he can stay and, you know, feel like he has a family and all of that. That's my take. I may be wrong. And it's possible that I'm wrong. But I don't think that the governor should, I don't think that Mr. President should step in again.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has done enough. And if these people cannot sit
has he done enough good or has he done enough bad? Did his stepping in help the situation, or did it cause what we now presently are seeing in Rivers State?
I don't know, but I don't know what they decided at that level, and nobody has made it public yet.
Mm-hmm.
But what I know about is that 6 months of emptiness that Rivers people had to deal with is something that I don't want to have to deal with again. That's the truth, and that's why I'm saying he shouldn't bother. I don't know what their agreements were. If I'm going by what Minister Wike has said, nobody agreed on one term, nobody did this, nobody. It's in your studio and you can watch them again, then it means that that's not part of the agreement. So there must be something that was the agreement, and we don't know what that something is. But I do not think that whatever the agreement was is why this is happening. I don't think so. I just think that maybe one person just isn't thinking state. You know, for me, the two gentlemen, both Wike and the governor, should put the state first. Rivers State first, before everyone's ego. Rivers State first.
Let's talk about that.
Any of all of these things, because at the end of the day, we're the ones suffering, going through all this nonsense.
Let's talk about that, Hilda. Let's talk about governance and the impact on the people, the citizens itself. Now, since after the return to democracy, has anything changed when it comes to governance? And in between that time and now, where we have these impeachment processes starting, has anything changed further, for the good or for worse? My question is actually, how has the process, the impeachment process, affected governance in Rivers State? But I'm being told by the producers that we need to go on a quick break. But have that question in mind. When we get back, that's what you'll be answering. We're going on a quick break now. We'll be back with Hilda, and we'll be talking about the instance in Rivers State as the impeachment processes seem to be continuing and causing, well, more wahala. We'll be right back. Welcome back again, and this morning the papers were rife with plenty of headlines about Rivers State. In fact, the Punch newspaper had its one saying, impeachment, Fubara Rivers lawmakers in showdown. And showdown seems to be exactly what it is. This carries along different papers, different headlines across the dailies this morning. We'll be bringing you those soon. But we still have with us Hilda, who's been speaking with us about the instances inside of Rivers State. And I asked you a question from before. I was worried about governance, about budgeting and service delivery, and what's been happening since after the impeachment process. For a third time, by the way, this impeachment for the same governor, how it's affected the people. And why are the people docile? Are the people docile out of respect for the governor, Fubara, or are they docile because there's no other recourse to take?
The people are not docile, but they're also looking. If you recall, the very last one, the women did not leave the streets until the end of the 6 months. They brought out days that they sat out and made sure that they stood in solidarity with the governor, because this governor is one governor that has done better than 35% female formation in his positioning of staff, in the number of women who were at the local government level, the women who were commissioners and all of that. So, but before we even go into appointments, let's even look at what he was doing. My entire life, all I have heard about developing my region is that our region is unbearable, is difficult, the terrain is difficult. Fubara shows up, and the riverine communities are no longer that challenging to develop. So for the first time, I see that it is not my terrain. It is people not willing. When Nyesom Wike was governor, at one time he was doing his bridges in town. People from my region, I'm riverine, kept saying, please, can these things get to the riverine community? Nyesom came in front of people at a function, and he said, thunder fire us for complaining and saying they should develop our area. In fact, he will keep building flyover one, flyover blah, blah, blah. And in fact, if he hurts us that much, it did hurt. So, but Governor Fubara comes and there's development happening. I think that all of this is because the man is ready to work. And you see, when people begin to do things the right way, they show the ineptitude of the previous people, like what's happening with Apia. Oti shows up and we see the ineptitude of the ones before him. And so now people are saying, hey, okay, guys, hold it. Governance needs to work in Rivers State. And before all of this mess started, it was working with Fubara. He was doing his, I'm not part of his party. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want to hear all that plenty statements, right? Because for me, if this was what Wike could give to us, it may just end up like Wike. But he did not. He shows up and begins to act like he has his own mind, like he wants to work for Rivers people. See, my entire life is Rivers first, though. It is my people first.
And has all this stopped?
Any other thing.
Has all this stopped? Hilda, has all this stopped since the impeachment process? Is the impeachment serving as a distraction for his governance efforts?
Yes, it is. It's a full distraction. It is. It's a full distraction. And people are beginning to fear again that perhaps they will pause them one more time and nothing will happen. In all of this, nothing happening. What's happening to our finances? What's happening to our resources? What's happening to our schools? Fubara was already putting schools in place. I wish that these members of the House of whatever they want to call themselves, because I don't like to call them House of Assembly, if they would reason for 1 second, 1 second, they would know that what they're doing is wrong and out of place. Completely. If they're waiting for Fubara to come, because that's what we keep hearing on the streets, I can't prove them because nobody has said it in front of me. If they say it in front of me, I will respond to it. It's Fubara must come and kneel down. Fubara must do this. Fubara must do that. When they collected vehicles, all these people, they're just very dramatic. They gave them cars, they gave them 300 million. Nobody heard of it until they said they gave them 100,000. They were not given 100,000. The 100,000 was for civil servants who work there. They should stop creating distractions and be honest with themselves and tell the truth. Did they drop the vehicles? Did they drop the 300 million? Or this their interest that they are talking about is just to make Fubara commit corruption so that on the grounds of corruption they can now do what they want? Like, what exactly do they want? Do they want him to carry River State resources and give to them? It's not his personal estate. It's not his personal resource. The thing belongs to Rivers people. Whatever he's going to use our money to do is to develop River State and not to give to any individual. No. So they're just creating unnecessary distraction. And it would be nice to see them quit if they can. It's just that their hunger for distractions and all of this is insatiable. They need to stop.
Well, Hilda, the past week, many people argued that there is need for conflict resolution at this time and that conflict resolution can only come from the presidency, which is unfortunate because I hear you say that they should not interfere anymore. But even if they did, at what point does that interference begin to impede on processes that are already laid down? When does it become a disturbance itself? Or is it already, or could it be already, or was it the main disturbance in the first place?
I had said once that forgiveness without repentance is a waste of time, right? If there was penitence and people had come to say, our president, we need your help because the two of us can't kick up this conversation, we need you. It's different from the president saying, you stop, okay, both of you go and work together. As a mother, I know that that pattern of conflict resolution has never worked. Now, we know that the second person in this conflict, the unseen yet very seen hand in this conflict is Minister Nyesom Wike, right? And he needs to stop. All he needs to do is agree in his mind, in his head, that he is no longer governor, that he's done with serving, that there is a new governor. Once Nyesom Wike comes to that realization, all of this stops. He's the problem here. That man is the problem, refusing to admit that there is somebody else. He thinks that, okay, like he always says, he single-handedly did this, single-handedly. We agree, you single-handedly did all of this. But even for parents, when you raise a child and a child gets to a certain level, you need to allow that person become a human being. You need to allow your child become an adult. You can't put him on a leash all the time and be pulling him. Sinela Ifubara is not a puppy. He's a man. He's a human being, and right now the governor of River State, Nyesom Wike, needs to know that he too now is minister of the FCT. He's no longer governor. He should stop meddling in the affairs of the state to the point that it creates tension in the state. He's been told that I think that he should also decide what party he belongs in, because maybe it will help him focus as well. Because now being in we don't know how many parties, legs spread out everywhere. We don't know where he belongs, but at least Sim has been clear. Sim has also gone to collect, because the things creating these distractions, it's just very
distractions indeed. Distractions indeed.
This to APC, and then that they give him a card is a problem for you to call a press conference.
Now, just a second, Hilda. Hilda, I'd like to bring in a legal expert, and this time it's Chukwueze Nwachukwu, his state organizing secretary, PDP, Imo State, 2023 to 24. You're welcome, Barrister. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to take a look at due process here. Many people argue that the impeachment is weaponized, is manipulated, and I'm wondering exactly what minimum requirements does the House need to make this impeachment process a legal one? Barrister?
Basically, impeachment is a legal process. It's a process that is controlled and outlined by law. And this is, in the case of a governor, it's in Section 188 of the Constitution, as amended, 1999 Constitution as amended. And what is needed is just 1/3 of the House voting that, 1/3 of the House voting that they should issue an impeachment notice. Then they ask the chief judge to set up a panel, 7-man panel, and after that, if the panel finds that there is a merit in the allegation, in the outlined infractions, then it moves back to the House, where they now need a 2/3 vote. You see, this issue should not be, I want to speak legally about it. My take on this issue is that if just remove all the politics, yes, will be the foundation of all these problems. But my take on it is that, one, what the House has outlined, are there merits in it? This process, if it goes on, because if what the House has outlined has no merits in it, of course, the 7-man panel, it's a legal process. It's not something that is given to sentiments. The governor has gone to get an injunction from the High Court on ex parte application yesterday to stop the chief judge from setting up the panel, just like a repeat of what we saw in Ondo State a while ago, some years ago, with the current governor, when there was an impeachment notice issued against him. An order was given by the court which stopped the chief judge from proceeding with setting up that panel. My take is that if the governor thinks that what the House is saying, that there is no legal infraction, then he has nothing to fear. He has nothing to fear. Because it's a pure legal process. If he has not contravened the
so to confirm, you're saying that the House is outlined. So Barrister Nwachukwu, you're saying, to confirm now, you're saying that the House is within its right. The processes that they are taking are correct. Is that what you're saying? Please confirm.
Of course.
Okay.
The House is a legislative process. The House was not set up there to be. It is one of the provisions of the Constitution. It's one of their legal duties that if they think a governor, because the governor, the oath of office is swearing to abide, obey the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One of the duties of the House of Assembly is that if a governor contravenes any section of that oath that he has taken, that is why you have what you call checks and balances in governance.
Has the governor?
That's why the legislature is like a check on the executive.
So has the governor fallen? Barrister,
if they have,
Barrister, I'm sorry to break it.
If they think that the governor has contravened a section of the oath that he took, which is the ground of the Constitution, why not? It's within their rights. It's constitutional. They've not done anything that is outward. Governors have been impeached before now.
So
And
Barrister, are you saying that the governor has fallen?
It's a legal process. The governor also has his rights.
Barrister, just a second, Barrister.
We've gone to court and all that. So
just a second, Barrister.
It's the constitutional right of the House.
Just a second, Barrister. Are you saying that the governor has fallen short in his bid to respond to the House? So are we putting this on the governor now and not the House, since you say the House is actually within its right and due process is being followed? So where does the ball fall? Is it in the court of the governor? Is he the one to blame now for not providing a response and in due time, or even committing to dialogue?
Well, for me, like I said, I want to concern myself basically with the legal dictates of this process. With the things that have to do with the political shenanigans that are going on behind the scene, where the governor is supposed to talk to anybody or not talk to anybody. I don't want to concern myself with that business. That is for they to
just
deal
a second
with.
then, Barrister. Let me go back to Hilda.
I am not prejudging the governor, no.
All right, just a second.
I don't want to prejudge the governor because the governor, I don't know what has really happened behind the scene. I don't want to comment on things I cannot verify or confirm. Whether the governor is right or the House is right, this thing is a legal process. If there are things that the governor has done wrong and the House thinks so, they put it out. And if the governor thinks what the House is doing is legally wrong, he's within his rights to challenge it. So I don't want to get into what happened behind the scenes, who is supposed to talk to, who is not supposed to talk to. The governor knows the oath he swore to, and he knows when he has contravened it. He should have commissioners and advisors on legal matters who should advise him on such issues. So for me, I'm not prejudging the governor, I'm not prejudging the House. I'm following it purely on the legal standpoint of this issue, and that is that impeachment of governors is a legal process, which the House has commenced. It doesn't end with them. The Chief Judge has a duty. They've also gone to court, and moreover, this is now a legal process. I can't even, the extent of this matter, I shouldn't even get into, because it is now subject to legal proceedings. So as a lawyer, there are things I can't even get into. That's why I'm confining myself to talking about the preliminary legal issues that have to do with its constitutionality. That is where I want to confine myself.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Nwachukwu. Hilda, now you've just heard from the legal practitioner here regarding how the governor should conduct himself. It should actually be a case of him submitting himself to the House, because these are legal proceedings. I don't know what take you have on that.
Well, like he said, he's a lawyer. He's only going to concern himself with the legal angle to it. And then I want to just say to him that in this country, we have listened and watched Justice Omotosho turn the law upside down and give judgments that even the Constitution gets a code out of what is given. We have also sat down in this country and watched the Supreme Court rule on issues that were not before them. So if anybody is worried, he's a lawyer, that's where he works, so it won't matter for him. But if people like me worry about the judiciary and judicial process right now in the country, we have every reason to, because of the things that we have seen, right? Now, saying it's a legal process, of course it is a legal process. Everybody knows that. If it wasn't, then what was the point for all the official oath taking that everyone does, when they're given any office of that magnitude? So yes, it may be that, but I do not, as Hilda, I do not think that the governor should subject himself to this kinds of, well, I don't know what they call it legally. He's the lawyer there. But I don't see what the governor has done. And this is going by the reasons that they gave, that we read. They said because he did not present the appropriation bill. Now, they forget that Abbas had presented it, and people like us had raised queries about why our money, the Supreme Court had ruled and said our money should not be given to anybody. Now our money was being given to Abbas. Some of us questioned it. People went to court over that. And then at the end of the day, what happened? Again, the same court did what it wanted to do, and they gave IPAS our money. Now, that's appropriation or budget or whatever they like to call it now, was for 1 year. That 1 year will expire in July. So whatever we have now is supposed to run till July. If the governor now needs to present another, which would be a supplementary, the question would be, does he need a supplementary? What would he need a supplementary for? Because the one that was passed by the National Assembly and handed over to IBAS, for which we had that shameful 600 billion, whatever it is, being the reason why people were coming to our states and all of that, is there. That money is there. The man is still doing his work with that money. So when it is time for supplementary, it will come. But for supplementary to be done based off of the fact that the State Assembly says their interest, I'd like to know what that interest is, that their interest was not considered. What is their interest? What exactly is their interest? Their interest is to create policies, right? So what does that do? Let's not even go there, see, because now crazy why all these people.
Okay, then hear that.
The truth is, the reasons that they have given, are they true? No, they are not. Can the courts hold and rule justly? We are not sure.
I would like us to talk about that. I would like us to talk about that, the court. The fact that the court has been dragged in as an instrument for political interest here worries me, and I'm sure worries a lot of people as well. While we have Barrister Nwachukwu here, let's ask. Barrister, the Chief Judge has now been drawn into the process. How do we protect the judicial system from being perceived as an extension of political interests now? Because it seems for every issue, for every political matter, for every election, it's the courts that seems to settle it. But how can we protect it from being seen as an extension, especially in this case where you have such big political names that extend all the way to the presidency? How do we protect it from being seen as a political instrument itself?
I would like to comment briefly on something that
Hilda,
the Rivers Labour Party chairman has talked about. She talked about Justice Omoto Shaw and the Supreme Court having ruled on issues not before them and all that. I don't think so. I was in the Supreme Court. The judgment of Rivers was handed. I had another matter there. And if you read those judgments, I've read those judgments. You know, the law is sometimes very intricate. And when people don't follow it legally, you will think that you've been hard done. I want to correct that impression. They should go and ask questions on what exactly happened. Some things went wrong with the legal team of the governor. The legal team of the governor made some fundamental elementary mistakes that led to some of the things that went wrong in that case. But let me leave that and go to what you've asked. The judiciary ordinarily is supposed to have some form of independence, but we cannot shy away from the process that brings up judges for appointment. You have what you call National Judicial Commissions and then the State Judicial Commissions. They nominate persons, and it is the governors that now send these names. It is the government that sends these names to the National Judicial Council for screening and confirmation. One way, if we want to be serious with this process, is that the judiciary should be extricated. One, in terms of the process of appointment. Two, in terms of funding. Once he who pays the piper dictates the two. Till now, they say the judiciary is independent, but they still wait for the money come from the executive. They can be on first line charge. Whether the executive, like you could see sometimes, you still see judicial workers going on strike against government not paying them what they should pay. Come on. Who pays the piper dictates the tone. Once you're able to extricate their funding from the control of the executive, and extricate the process of emergence of judicial officers from being meddled or passed through the executive, that will be some measure. That will be one pathway to getting them off interferences by the executive. As long as their money still comes from the executive without coming directly to them, as long as the appointments are still passed through the executive to get to the National Judicial Council for them to be appointed, there will still be interferences. There have been instances in the past in my state, in Imo, where certain persons of repute, eminently qualified, have been nominated, and some governors refuse to take their name to the National Judicial Council. And there's nothing you can do about it. So that's one way. That's one way of insulating them from any form of interferences. If that could be done by some constitutional amendment, I thought that the lawyers in the National Assembly should have been bothered about such matters. The lawyers in the National Assembly who have been in practice and have seen some of these interferences, this is one of the areas they should have intervened very vigorously and try to extricate the judiciary completely from executive interferences in terms of appointments and funding. Once that is done, I think that will be 50% down the road. They would have been extricated from executive interferences, and that could make them stand on their feet, knowing that whatever they do here, their livelihoods are protected. When you do a good job, you'll be elevated, whether anybody likes it or not. That's my take on that.
The judiciary from the process, and you might have a better result. Now, there is one other matter, however, that I want to ask you that's outside your legal confines, and I'm wondering if you can answer this. How much of what you see currently seems to be a take on, well, overtaking the political structure in Rivers State to the advantage of the next elections?
You're talking about the Rivers State and the next elections politically?
Yes. If you can keep it really short, because we're out of time already.
The Rivers State is now a case study in the electoral dynamics of Nigeria. This is the first time you're having a state where one man is controlling the structure of the two major parties. You have one man who's controlling the structure of APC. He's also the one controlling the structure of the PDP, and both chairmen stand beside him in rallies and his forays around the local governments. It's a very interesting scenario. The truth of the matter is that what has changed, what has altered the dynamics of the Rivers 2027 governorship politics, and probably which will trickle down to other positions, is the entry of Fubara into APC. That is what has caused all these problems, because with his entry into the APC, it gives him some measure of leverage, because now he's a member of the APC Governors Forum, and he's a member of the ruling party, so he now attends certain meetings ordinarily before, where he wasn't attending, and is able to talk to certain leaders of government and the party who are members of his party now, where Wike used to hold sway before now. Rivers is going to be very interesting. I see a photo finish that is unexpected happening in Rivers governorship election. I see a photo finish that is unexpected.
We are out of time.
That they have this thing now. They may be shocked at the end of the day.
Barrister, we are out of time, but I really want to get Hilda's final take. I'm wondering why she is laughing. She's been laughing since you've been talking. Hilda, really quick, we only have just a minute. What's that gesture we see you?
You know what? He had said he was not going to comment on politics, and I was wondering.
It surprised me too.
He will remove his beep very soon, and he just removed the beep. And that's why I've been laughing. You see, we have not only become a case study, we have also become a laughing stock for the rest of the country. There is a twist in the script. The twist in the script is Fubara in APC, and what the APC position will eventually be. And then, you know, what you call it, everybody else in the state. See, if it's organic love, right? Organic love, one-on-one, no rigging, Fubara will win his election, neat and clean. Because that's how Rivers people are. They can just not stand injustice and intimidation. For that reason, we will all stand behind Governor Fubara, because we did it for Wike when he was governor, and he had that tussle with Amechi. Rivers people stood with him, not necessarily because of anything, other than the fact that we felt like, Amechi, you don't finish, they go. We allow Wike to do his work. And it's the same thing we're saying to Wike now. Oga, they go, allow Fubara to do his work. So if we're going to go very organic, Fubara will win his election neat and clean. But that, again, is in the hands of APC. If APC decides that during their primaries, their candidate for Rivers State election will be Governor Fubara, then that's it. So, Wachuku, thanks for removing your bib. You gave me an opportunity to laugh this morning. Thank you very much. And,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hilda. It was a very exciting conversation here. And of course, Barrister Wachuku, thank you very much for removing your beep. I think I'll ask you more political questions next time instead of legal ones. But I enjoyed that. Thank you indeed. We look forward to having you two back again here on Breakfast Extra next time when we have Rivers State to discuss. Because, I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Thank you once again, and we look forward to having you back. To our guests and, of course, to our audience, we do say do stay tuned. We've got more coming your way. Final part of the break. In fact, tell you what, let's tell you about Waka Waka World today. You see, some places are known for power, others are known for history. Igbo-Ora is known for life. Tucked away in Oyo State, this quiet town holds a global distinction. It records one of the highest rates of twin births everywhere in the world. Let's take a look at it as Waka Waka Doctor takes us through here on Breakfast Extra.
Nestled in the rolling hills of Oyo State, Nigeria, lies a town that holds a secret as astonishing as it's mysterious. Igbo-Ora.
Igbo-Ora isn't just some ordinary town. It's a place filled with magic and wonders. It holds the record for the highest number of twins anywhere in the world.
Welcome to Twin Festival. I love you.
Our mommy has been giving us the same dressing right from the beginning. That is so reason that up to today, as old as we are still dressing the same way.
Meet Taiwo and Kende. Yes, that's their actual names. In Yoruba culture, every set of twins is special, and their names hold great significance.
We are happy to be here in Igbo-Ora, yes, to showcase the uniqueness of twinning to the world, and we are telling the world that through twins, tourism can be developed, and that's twins tourism for you.
Yeah, twins are blessing from Almighty God. It is God that gives to whichever deserves or wishes to give out to multiple birth. We are very happy that today we are celebrating the multiple birth, the twins, the triplets, the quadruplets, multiple birth family, and here we are in Igbo-Ora.
In Yoruba tradition, the firstborn twin is called Taiwo, the one who tastes life. Taiwo is seen as the scout. He is sent ahead to experience the world first. But Kehinde, the second-born, is believed to be the true leader, the one with wisdom, the one with responsibility to guide Taiwo through life.
Another thing they say is that as twins, both of you are inseparable. Is it true? You cook together, you wear the same clothes, but you guys dress alike. You go to the same place together. You do everything together. Are you going to marry the same husband? I know by now you might be wondering what exactly causes this whole twin phenomenon. Well, I know you've also heard about the whole yam thing, but before we get into that, I am Waka Waka Doctor and I'm your tour guide on this episode. We're going to be uncovering the mystery of this small town that has just about the population of 100,000 people. Let's uncover the mystery of Igbo-Ora.
If I'm pregnant or not, I do eat Ilasa. Even after I put to bed, I do eat Ilasa. Ilasa is the soup of Igbo-Ora and Amala. I believe it's Ilasa. Once you like and consume Ilasa, you must give birth to twin.
I'm a typical farmer, and when you eat yam, especially if you want to be a twist in Igbo-Ora here, pound pounded yam very early in the morning, around 6 o'clock. To serve on, eat it, join your wife. Twins will exist.
Ilasa soup only the main reason we do give birth to twins here in Igbo-Ora.
So, in simple terms, while some people believe that genetics plays a role, others believe that it's the diet that is the main cause of this high rate of twinning in Igbo-Ora. So this is a local restaurant right here, and they serve amala, made from yam and cassava, and of course, Ilasa soup. This is Ilasa soup. This is amalabi. Amala. Hello. Yes. This food tastes very nice, just as advertised. I've just had a taste of the famous amala with Ilasa soup, with the hope that in the next year, I'll have my own set of twins.
Igbo-Ora has been in the system for long, and it's just more or less something that is happening that you don't know the reason. But in 1972, consciously because of the rates at which they are recording twins in their maternity, so they put up a data, collate the data, and through that small data gathering, they were able to come to a conclusion that out of every 1,000 births, there's always 45 multiple births there. Compare with other zone, other region, and another continent like Europe, where they have about 5 out of 1,000. That is where the data is being saying that, okay, there is more concentration of twins or multiple births around this place.
One cannot say specifically that this is the cause of this multiple birth.
Hey, welcome back. It's time for Focus Africa. Let me also welcome back my co-host, Queen Celestine. Where she went, I do not know, but welcome back from whence you came, Celestine. Now, let's talk Uganda. Uganda is headed to the polls for 2026 general elections under a cloud of concern, by the way, and human rights group warn of rising repression, shrinking civic space, and also increased targeting of opposition voices. Now, the fear is that the electoral environment is being shaped long before, or was shaped long before the first ballot was actually cast. For Africa, Uganda matters. It's a regional power broker, a security partner, and also a bellwether for democratic backsliding on the continent. What happens there has implications for governance norms across East Africa and also beyond.
And joining us are Manasseh Ahmed, coordinator of the Pan-African Solidarity Network, and Job Kija, executive director, Innovations for Democratic Governance. Manasseh and Job, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. I would like to start with Kija. Thank you very much. Kija, first off, we're in the dark when it comes to Uganda because of the shutdown on internet. And we're wondering what is happening right now. What's the latest you can tell us, please?
So I've been following the developments quite closely. The Electoral Commission has announced results about 4 times now, provisional results, and they will be announcing the final results at about 2 p.m. Ugandan time. But from what we are seeing, of course, President Museveni is being given above 70% so far, which is the highest that he has received ever in the past 4 decades of his leadership. And then Bobi Wine is at about 24%. The rest are sharing about 2 to 3%. Of course, there is contention around those results because there's no clarity as to where those results are coming from. The chairperson comes and tells you from 10,000 polling stations that we have received, candidate Museveni has this percentage, Bobi Wine has this percentage, so and so has this percentage, without telling you which districts or regions these results are coming from. So the mood in the room is one of doubt and suspicion, because it is very difficult for the agents of the different political parties and candidates to verify what the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is reading in relation to what they have received in terms of the declaration of result forms that they have. In terms of the candidates, since Bobi Wine cast his ballot, he has been under house arrest. His house has been under siege. Last night, a helicopter, they cut off, first of all, they cut off electricity supply to his house, and then a helicopter hovered over his house, and they wanted to arrest him. What happened is that there was a scuffle. They tried to break into the house, the police and the military, but the last I've heard from the son of Bobi Wine is that Bobi Wine actually managed to escape. So his whereabouts are not yet known, but the wife is still under house arrest. There have been a few fatalities during that exchange last night. I think about 2 people were shot and killed as the security tried to access Bobi Wine's home. But also in the wee hours of the night that were leading into yesterday's morning, the vice president for one of the regions, which is Buganda, of the National Unity Platform, which is Bobi Wine's party, his house was broken into by the security. Over 10 people were shot at and killed in the house because the security suspected that there was some independent tallying that was going on there. But also, as we speak, all the other vice presidents of the National Unity Platform have been either abducted or arrested and locked up in different locations in the country. Agents of the National Unity Platform, which is the leading political party in the opposition, who have been, abductions have been ongoing since, I think, over last week. And many of them that even managed to access the polling stations were arrested and a declaration of results forms confiscated from them by security or goons. So there is a huge shadow of doubt on the results that are being released at both presidential and parliamentary level. In areas which were clearly opposition strongholds, we have seen the victory of the members of the National Unity Platform overturned in a number of constituencies, 2 constituencies in Kampala, where we knew from what we're receiving in terms of results that these were outright wins for the National Unity Platforms. These have now been given to the National Resistance Movement, which is the ruling party. But also, as we speak, the count of bodies, people that have been killed, is about 50 across the country. In terms of people that have been arrested that are affiliated with the National Unity Platform, we are now going to about 1,000. The arrest started way before the campaigns, and these have been ongoing up to date. As we speak, there are still abductions and arrests that are ongoing. A number of us have had to leave our homes because as civil society actors, we knew, we were tipped off that actually we were going to be arrested or abducted or even killed, like it has happened for other people. In terms of election observation, well, there might be some international observers on the ground, like the African Union, SADC, and IGAD. A number of international observers did not find reason to continue observing Uganda's elections because of the manner in which they are conducted. And so you won't have the American observers or EU observers on the ground. Local observation since the last elections has been banned in the country. Organizations that are engaged in observation have been harassed by the NGO Bureau on behalf of the government, of course. As we speak, just this week, we had 10 organizations that were working on democracy and human rights just on the eve of the elections before the internet was shut down. Their permits were revoked by the National Bureau for NGOs. Organizations like mine were targeted since the last elections. To date, we are still in court battling with the closure from the government.
Now,
so
Joe,
there are a number of civil society leaders. You could have heard of Dr. Sarah Birete that were arrested just a week before the election, and now they are locked up facing fictitious charges.
All right, Joe.
So that is the environment in the country at the moment.
Job, that was an excellent retell of exactly what's happening in Uganda. You've just given us a very big picture, especially with the internet shutdown. Now, I'm wondering what concerns, or rather, what reasons the government has given for the internet shutdown, and will it still persist, and until when?
Of course, this is not the first time that government of Uganda is shutting down internet over the past 3 elections. In the first election in 2016, the social media was cut off. In the 2021, internet was totally shut down. And then this time around again, internet has been shut down. So for us, it is not surprising. It was just a matter of when. And of course, the reasons they are giving is security. But we know that the major reason for shutting down internet is really to hide the atrocities that are committed by the government during elections. You may recall that in the last elections, the government is talking about 54 people that were killed on the streets of Kampala, but through independent verification, we know that they are close to 200 that were shot and killed within a span of just 2 days. So the things they want to hide are things that are going on, like the siege on Bobi Wine's home, the intended arrest, the breaking into of houses of the vice presidents of the National Unity Platform, the killings, but also they want to ensure that there's no mobilization, that citizens are not connected, because, you know, internet is the safest way, the easiest way these days through which citizen mobilization is done. So they don't want any kind of mobilization. They want to be able to declare their results, whereby the independent results that have been picked by different actors are not able to be spread through internet.
Wow. Thank you, Job.
And like that, we are not sure how much longer this might go, but depending on the situation on the ground, if there's some sort of mobilization on the ground or pushback, it could go on for as long as that mobilization is quelled. But from our estimate, probably for the next 2 to 3 days, if things are normal. If they are not normal, internet will remain shut down.
Okay.
So Wanase, hearing everything what Job has said, what do you have to say in terms of what the Ugandans are saying concerning the situation surrounding this general election at this moment? Wanase?
Wanase, we seem to be having...
My apologies, I was on mute. Thank you. I think Job gave a very comprehensive summary.
Yeah.
The thing that I would probably add is that before the 15th, there was also a lot of irregularities leading to the quote-unquote election. So this was a predetermined outcome that was going to be announced. There was a lot of denominations, fraud within the voter registrar, polling stations being put in military barracks, huge deployment of military and security forces throughout the streets of Uganda, creating a lot of intimidation. There was threats by the security agencies saying that voters that came out and stayed within 20 meters outside of the 20-meter radius of the polling stations, which is their lawful right, would be shot. So there's been a lot of threats, a lot of intimidation, and a lot of pre-rigging, let's say, of the that quote-unquote election. Members of the opposition party were denominated by the Electoral Commission, leaving space for NRM to go unopposed. The voter registrar had people who were deceased on it, had many duplicates, had children. So there was a lot of electoral malpractice even before this election day. So we understand that what happened on the 15th and the fraudulent results that are coming out are not reflective of the people's will of Uganda. So personally, I think from where we stand at the moment, there's a lot of support that we also need to give to the people of Uganda. They are being disappeared, they're being murdered, they're being detained. There's people who are still detained from 5 years ago from the election period who have still not been tried or charged, who are in remand. And Uganda is operating with impunity when it comes to torture, extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, arbitrary arrests, and the East African, the African, and the global community need to also intervene in terms of their legal mandates, their organizational mandates. The AU, SADC, the East African community are all complicit in these crimes. And our call to action is this era of diplomatic observation and silence it must be over. And that's complicity to these crimes. So we really call upon the people of East Africa, the African continent, and the international community to impose sanctions, to call out this election because it was not free, fair, and democratic. It's violating many different charters, treaties, human rights laws, and we must also give the people of Uganda solidarity by action amidst these extremely challenging and repressive times.
Okay, so Wanese, you've talked about, complacency and all that has happened. And of course, Job mentioned that, the shutting down of internet has not just happened now, it has happened before. So at what point do you think the Ugandans or people in Africa will say, Africa is going to take charge in terms of, democracy and everything? How do we move past this? If this has been happening and the president has been ruling for over 4 decades, what is the next step to break out of this continuous issue surrounding elections? Wanese.
I think we're continuing to explore that question, which is if elections cannot bring change, which is very clear, they cannot reflect the will of the people and bring democratic change in these authoritarian regimes, what options are available? So I believe historically the role of other countries within the continent providing safe spaces, solidarity, support, through legal action, through organizing, has always been a key pillar towards larger transitions of countries, but ultimately it is the Ugandan people who will continue to push back and fight for their country, their sovereignty, and their will. And I think we're seeing a different climate this year because all across the continent and globally, people are no longer willing to sit back and they're ready to fight for that change regardless of some of the consequences. So I think the reason that the regime is currently abducting, disappearing and detaining all of the opposition leaders is so that they cannot mobilize their people, because this year was about the protest vote. It was not just about the campaign, the vote, it was then about protecting the vote and demanding the victory. So we're observing as much as possible from a distance to see how the people of Uganda are going to continue to react as their victory, which they've rightfully earned, is clearly being stolen as they predicted. So I believe each country will also rise up, react, and take different paths in terms of fighting for their democratic freedoms and for their country. At the moment, it's very difficult to see. I know there are protests that are happening throughout Uganda. There's military repression, and we are just waiting to see how best we can support them while simultaneously continuing to push back to these regional bodies, continental bodies, and from where we stand, how can we protect them, defend their rights, and support them during this challenging yet important time to secure their country's future.
Thank you very much, Wanese. Job, let me come to you again. Let's talk about the electoral process. With all the factors and everything that's going on in Uganda, everything focused on the election, one factor is the Electoral Commission. And my simple question is, how compromised is the Electoral Commission, do you think? Job?
The Electoral Commission, I think, stands between a rock and a hard place, because even the person that we thought was the leading beneficiary of the incompetence of the Electoral Commission has actually cast a vote of no confidence in the Electoral Commission. President Museveni claims that he lost over 2.7 million votes in the last elections, which were presided over by this Electoral Commission. Because of the Electoral Commission's incompetence. And I mean, he's the one who appoints the Electoral Commission. He gave it another term again to preside over another sham election. But he's the last person that actually had some sense of trust in the Electoral Commission, but he has also thrown them under the bus. So it is so clear that actors across the aisle from all political parties, in the citizenry, civil society, etc., do not actually trust the Electoral Commission. And this largely is because of the manner in which it has been behaving, but also the manner in which it is constituted. First of all, the appointing authority, who is the president, it pays allegiance to him. That is the first thing. And then if you look at the manner in which it does things, I mean, today I've just been telling you about the results that they are releasing. They are reading results and they're not telling you where these results are coming from. So you're not able to compare. They have procured a biometric voter verification kit, which failed in yesterday's election, yesterday but one, and it could not be deployed anywhere in the country. I mean, this is not the first time that this technology is being deployed. It is the third time. And you know, there's a lot of corruption that goes on around the procurement of that technology. It was used in 2016 elections. It failed to function. It was again used in the last elections, 2021. Again, it failed. And it has been deployed again in these elections, and again, it has failed. So for us, we look at this as just a conduit for stealing money by the Electoral Commission and NRM cronies. If you look at the manner in which results, even at different levels, whether it is a member of parliament level or local government level, are announced, when you talk to people on the ground, they actually show you that their declaration of result forms are different from what the Electoral Commission is issuing. The Electoral Commission, the voters register has been very, very highly compromised. The Electoral Commission is failing to follow its own law, because the law provides that candidates are supposed to receive the voters register on nomination. That is for presidential candidates. And then 14 days before the election, they are supposed to receive the hard copies of the voters register. The physical copies of the voters register were furnished to the candidates 6 days to the elections, and so there was no room to do an independent audit of that register. When we did an audit of the digital register, which they gave us, we found that there was an individual that appeared in that register 50 times, and so they could vote 50 times. There were over 1,500 multiple entries in one part of Kampala alone. Remember, we have 146 districts. In almost every district, there were so many multiple entries. 1 month, the law provides that on nomination of presidential candidates are supposed to be furnished with lists of polling stations across the country, such that they are able to deploy their agents.
Job,
yes.
Just a second, Job. I'm very sorry. We're almost out of time. In fact, we only have about 2 minutes. But I really wanted to ask Mwanase one question. And the question, well, it extends outside of Uganda. We've seen Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, even outside of Africa, Nepal. We've seen a very strong push by the youth when it comes to elections. And I'm wondering in Uganda whether there might be the sort as well. Because there's a very big concern from the youth population regarding these elections. In fact, they are invested. So what happens if this doesn't go the way the youth proposed? Mwanase. You're muted again, Mwanase, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I think it's very clear that the majority of the Ugandan population is ready for change. It was very visible during the campaign period of Bobi Wine how much support he had from the local communities and the youth. And I believe that each country is going to have a different pathway to determination of their futures and to reclaim their power. It's difficult to gauge what's happening in Uganda now, despite the small clips that are coming out due to the internet shutdown. But I strongly believe that the youth, as well as the millennials in Uganda, are not going to sit back and allow for another rigged election. So despite the military pushback, the violence, the brutality, I'm sure that the youth of Uganda, the people of Uganda, are going to continue pushing back, whether it's through the streets and continued other efforts. They're not going to allow their futures and this election to be stolen. The methodology, we'll have to wait and see, because not being a Ugandan, it's not within my capacity to say, but it's very clear that this has been the protest vote. They were to protect their vote and they were going to demand their victory. And that's not just from the leader of NUP, that's all of the supporters. So despite the repressive conditions, I believe that over the next 2 days, and especially today when the final results, which are rigged, which are not true, the fake results come out, we will see the people of Uganda take to the streets, push back, and demand their victory.
Right. Now, Job, real question, real quick. From your view, what is one hard truth African leaders don't want to hear about elections?
I think the one hard truth is that a majority of African leaders, they're basically using elections to legitimize their occupation of their countries. So if you look at Uganda, for instance, elections are not something that Museveni believes in, but rather he uses them to legitimize his military occupation. And this seems to be across the board.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Job Kija and Mwanase Ahmed for joining us for this very interesting conversation here about Uganda. We'll wait to see what the results say. And, well, let's see where Uganda goes from today. Thank you once again. Look forward to seeing you guys back on Breakfast Extra where we have such conversations to have. And indeed, it is the end of the show already. I can't believe it's 3 hours already. We're done. 3 hours.
Yes. Well, you did most.
Yeah, you deserted me at a point, and I'm like, it's okay, I'll let you do the rest. But no, I couldn't do that. But delighted to have done this with you again today. And of course, we get to do it tomorrow. What will your monologue be about?
You all know what it is, so stay tuned.
We want to know. We want to know.
Tomorrow!
So
8 o'clock.
Join us again tomorrow at 8 o'clock for the second installment this weekend. Second weekend in 2026. We'll be glad to be here. Will you? Goodbye now.